We're going to get cracking in a moment, but before we do, this is an important announcement. The information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into account your personal situation. We don't guarantee the quality of the wine or the banter contained in this content. You should consider whether the information is appropriate for your needs and your daily intake. And where appropriate, seek professional advice from a financial advisor, accountant, bottle shop assistant, or relevant qualified professional. Matters referred to in this podcast are of general nature only, and for those of drinking age, and should not be relied upon in place of appropriate personal advice, or the odd glass of wine on a Friday.
To make sure you get the most out of wealth, wine and wisdom, folks, please follow the house rules. Don't be a wallflower, get involved in the chat. We love to have some questions, feedback, and a little bit of commentary along the way. You give us energy, we'll have a good time. Make sure you pour yourself a glass of something wet to wet the whistle. Make sure you get the banter flowing as well. Doesn't matter what you're drinking, whether it's wine, our favourite, beer, coffee, maybe it's a cup of tea, water, or even juice. Keep that good energy flowing, folks. There's some house rules. If you don't put your name down, we don't know who you are, you're not coming in. Don't spam or advertise. This is our little game of cricket. This is all about debriefing the week, folks. What's going on out there in the world, and hopefully get you some sanity, maybe a bit of a chuckle at the end of the week, so we can all be on the same page and keep moving forward. Make sure you respect your fellow patrons, because we don't let any old muck in this place. And most of all, have some fun and enjoy this episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
I love that intro. Witten.
Mate,
Happy Friday.
Afternoon. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, folks. Good to see a bunch of you on the live stream. Welcome to the show, Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. Back at it. Our third episode, back at our second series, Andy, and chipping away, folks, chipping away. Plenty going on. A few of you in the chat already, which is awesome. Thank you for being here. Great to see you. A bit of a hello to a few of the regulars. Chris is always around. G'day, mate. Good to see you. Yeah, Sharon. Hey, Sharon. You've been having a bit of an amazing holiday, I hear. So good to see you here. Thanks for showing up. Irene's in the house as well. We've got a few, maybe a couple of newbies, which is great. Holly. G'day, Holly. Lisa, good to see you. Donna Rose, always here. Feel free, folks, to get into it in the chat while Andy and I get warmed up for Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, mate. But good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, why don't we do the little warm-ups for everyone? There's a pretty good lineup here this afternoon. But, mate, what is happening?
What's going on? Well, for those of you who haven't seen us before, welcome. Just as a little bit of context as to what you're tuning in on. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, Jason Witten, Andy Fenton. Effectively, when the world went shut down, we opened the truth back in the days of the pandemic. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom emerged from a time of chaos. We're the voice of reason and a little bit of wine for Australian investors and business owners. While headlines screamed crisis, we delivered clarity. While others spun fear, we decided to share those funny things called facts, ladies and gentlemen, that seem to have gotten lost in a lot of the political and media hype these days. This allowed that when other people hesitated, our community acted. The impact, well, was massive. We helped hundreds of business owners avoid collapse, thousands through economic shockwaves, which were challenging to say the least, and unlocked an extraordinary amount of growth for those who are ready to seize the moment. Our listeners didn't just survive in COVID, but they built their wealth in the middle of a storm. So we're back because the next storm's already here. In case you haven't noticed, Australia's facing unprecedented government debt. They're spending like drunken sailors, and they don't look like they're going to slow down, Jason.
No, they don't.
We've got looming tax overhauls, so it's pretty clear as to how they're going to try and recoup it, and a potential decade of Labor rule. Add to that the worst housing crisis in modern history and the largest intergenerational wealth transfer in history. The stakes have never been higher, ladies and gents. This isn't just a turning point, it's a tipping point. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom is your inside edge in uncertain times, built on insight, not opinion. Sometimes we've got a fair bit of opinion while unpacking the real implications of policy shifts, property trends, and market moves before they hit the headlines. So we do it with a glass of wine, ladies and gents. We bring together all of our years of experience and also the professionals that support us, and we give you the information that we have been scraping through the week and through the years, and we call it decanting the week. So, mate, let's get into it.
Let's do it. Well, mate, decant the week. Well, listen, folks, last week I had a bit of a conversation, a bit of a rant, actually, about interest rates and the time it takes for your lender to pass it on. There was a bit of a shout out here, Andy, for you with the intro. You're always doing great. We should give Andy a round of applause. Hopefully you can hear that one. There you go. Who's your scriptwriter, Luke wants to know. Chat GPT, Luke. It's pretty good these days. But listen, folks, last week we had a bit of a conversation about how long it takes. Why does it take so damn long, Andy, folks, for your bank, your lender to pass on an interest rate? There's a few of those lenders pass it on instantly, but there's some who kick the can down the road, which I think should be outlawed. If the government wants to do some laws, they should put some laws in place for, the general public to add value to their income rather than take away. It's tens of millions to the bottom line to wait 10, 14, 21 days. We saw some of the lenders waiting, but listen, folks, some of them, unfortunately, it's a bit more sad news this week. Now, Andy, you and I have, sometimes get a chance to communicate good news. So we're going to try and attempt to do that as often as we can. But sometimes we need to bring up things that folks, you need to be aware of. And Andy and I do know, if you vote with your business, take your business to places which you get taken care of, then this is one of those occasions. So this is a bit of a shout out to those who are maybe getting the proverbial taken down the road. Which lenders are not passing on the RBA's full rate cuts, Andy Fenton?
You mean the lenders not passing on the rate cuts, Jason?
Why? What's going on? Isn't it automatic? No, folks, it's not. It's not automatic. This is the thing. This is actually a bit of an illusion when it comes to money. You think the RBA sets the interest rates? Well, no, they don't. They give a guideline of the cash rate, right? And then, Andy, what the banks do is they set the interest rates based on a cash rate. So it doesn't directly correlate either up or down, does it? Right? At the end of the day. So here's some news that we don't want to hear, but what we want to make sure we do is let you know what is going on under the hood, folks, of the world of our observation. We're in the world of investing. We don't know everything about everything, but we know a lot about a little thing or two. So, at the end of the day, which lenders aren't passing it on? Aussie Home Loans. We'll save you.
We'll save you.
We'll save you. No, we won't. No, we won't. What's going on at Aussie? Now listen, this is a shame. Good brand, did a lot of good stuff in the early years of its existence, but right now, not the public's favorite. Not passing on the full rate cut, only passing on 10 basis points instead of 25. So passing on less, Andy, less than 50%, folks, of the rate cut. Now, this that's a bit disappointing. There's a few other lenders not playing ball either, folks. Virgin Money didn't pass it on in February, which is a bit of a shame. Either. A
bit frigid with the rate drop, were they?
Well, that's what happened, mate. So, and this is the thing, folks. This is where, you got to keep an eye on what's going on and vote with your business, vote with your feet. Virgin didn't pass it on. Now, what a lot of the banks are doing is, they're playing around with rates because, it is stealing. As far as I'm concerned, it should be passed on. This is the stuff that the general public doesn't know. A researcher said out of the said there's about 32 lenders in Australia. There is quite a number of lenders in Australia, well over 120 folks. 32 lenders, some 7,500 loans would not receive even the full basis point cut. Every loan didn't get an immediate cut, passed on either. So they might receive some deductions. But guess what? This is the one that I don't love, but it just gives me the shits, folks, and it should give you the shits. Guess what? ANZ said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put the interest rate up instead of decided to increase its interest rates, folks, not reduce them. So it increased its lowest variable rate for new customers only. How's that? What's, okay. Anyway, there you go, folks. It's an interesting time in the world of mortgages, something you've got to keep an eye on, Andy.
Absolutely. Loyalty, when it comes to banks, insurance companies, there's no loyalty does not pay. You've got to shop it around.
No, you don't. Yep. Is there a way to find out? Yeah.
Yep.
There unfortunately there's not. There's a couple of websites. Chris and Sarah, one of our brokers who was on tonight. Sarah, good to see you here. Might shed some light if she's got some tips in the chat, we'll put them up as well. Sarah, loyalty's dead. Well, this is the thing. Vote with your feet. And it's an interesting one, Andy. Many of us, certainly our parents, Jeff, they don't make enough profit. No, you're right, Jeff. They didn't make enough billions, so they just decided to keep a bit more. There you go. but it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because certainly our parents, Andy, like I remember my parents being extremely loyal to the lender, the bank. It was a CommBank. I've still got a CommBank card. I've still got a what's the account? Yeah, a Dollarmite account. Yep. But really at the end of the day, folks, it's a game of keeping as much as you can. So that one right now for me, decant the week, it doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth. Nor in your bank account. Let's face it. And if you've got better offers, you've got better deals, then absolutely get out there and vote with your business. Sarah's always happy to help.
So number one tip, team, and we'll start peppering a few more tips in as we go through. But one thing, everyone, we teach all of our business owner clients and mentoring clients. Every year, you should be chatting with your broker, not your bank. You should be chatting with your broker, who can assess you against everybody in the market and understand how much you can have and at what cost and what features and benefits. Because ultimately, at some point in time, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you need more or you need it to be cheaper. Maybe one of the opposites in a rare circumstance, but ultimately, if you chat with them every year, you'll increase your probability of being in the right spot, no matter what your lending needs are. So every year, it shouldn't just be when you're buying a property. You should chat with them every year.
We call it something, folks. If there's a few of our exit planners on right now, Andy, what's that strategy in our Super 27? All right, prize to anyone who picks it. Hopefully, someone does. What do we call it? It's one of our Super 27 strategies. Put it in the chat, and we'll send you a prize. Well, someone will. I'll get Shay to do it.
I was about to say that could be an interesting one for us to honour.
Well, there you go. So, Andy, I do have one more bit of news, which I think's horrible, folks. But sadly, Andy, you and I have done a lot of work in this space, which is sometimes the sad outcome of some, let's say, some not so great business acumen or some unintentional structuring, unintentional things that happen in the marketplace, whatever. But there's some records being broken in Australia right now, and I've been talking about this for many years, actually. Andy, you know I've been talking about this. A few years ago, we had the most construction insolvencies and business collapses in Australia's history. Extremely sad. Oh, Jeff's going for the meeting rhythm. Oh, there is a meeting rhythm one there, Jeff. It's the being bankable. It's one of Andy's favorites. So there you go. But this is a sad state of affairs, folks, and certainly for the business owners out there. 7,000 businesses, the highest number of businesses as a ratio of business. 7,000 in New South Wales in the there you go. Donna had it. Donna got it. Good work, Donna. Nice work. Collapse, insolvencies, and construction hit the hardest. All right. And so this is the thing. This is the part that sort of grinds my gears with it's not all sad news, Rosie. Stick with us, folks. Stick with us. We want to make sure we're aware of what's going on, but we can navigate this together. And we've got to make sure we lean into that one, Andy. But construction hit. Yeah, construction hit the hardest. So 7,000 insolvencies in New South Wales alone, folks, because check this out. New South Wales, close to 7,000. Victoria, 5,000. Queensland, 3,000. WA and SA as well. Now, I'm surprised about that personally, Andy, because Victoria and New South Wales is actually, New South Wales is bigger. Sydney and Melbourne are about close in population. But, yeah, I would have thought Victoria would have broken another record there, Andy, or led the way, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So
they're just slow at processing that stuff down here, Jace.
Could be. Maybe because they're given a few pay rises to politicians and a few more holidays. But that's sad. That's a sad state of affairs, folks, when it comes to business owners. But what we do know, Andy, what you and I have been teaching for 20 years plus, but we've been leaning into that of recent times, is those business owners who know how to structure themselves properly, and investors as well, folks. The moment you start lending money and taking risk, the moment you start a business, those two things, if you're a property investor or a business owner or a combination of both, you end up with some risk that things can change in the marketplace, in the environment that often you do not control, and often the downstream effects of those things are unfair when it comes to things like this. Some of these businesses, just like Jeff was saying here, the COVID lockdowns, some contributions when it comes to changes in industries, let's say the building industry and things like that. Like, you're not in control of these things that happen. I think there's a shake-up coming for NDIS. Any NDIS provider, I think there's a big shake-up coming for you, so you need to keep an eye on what's going on. So a lot of things going on there, Andy, folks, online. But if you do know how to structure yourself properly, that's what Andy and I have been talking about, you can get out of these things. You can manage your way through these business ups and downs in the right way, in an effective way. So that's that's Decant the Week for me, Andy. A little bit of sad news at the start of the week. We're going to lean into some good news later on. But I might throw over to you, mate. What have you got for the folks at home today for Decant the Week?
Well, mate, I've got some good news. I'll kick off with some good news. Usually it's me with the disaster story. So
we're switching places, trading places this
trading
week.
Places.
Go, Andy. Come on, tell me the good news.
Well, we picked this one a little while ago, and so the Australian share market now, record highs. Jace, never been higher. Never been higher in history. So yeah. Yes. So probably not as high as what we'd like it to be, but ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone over 9,000 on the All Ords. So things have been happening well in the stock market out here in Oz. That's our chart now over since early 2000s. So it is nowhere near as strong as some of our international compadres, but there's specific reasons behind that. We've got a very good buoyant franking system that the government are trying to toy around with. So with every bit of good news, there's always bad news, isn't there?
Yeah.
The tall poppy syndrome, ladies and gentlemen, is alive and well in Australia, unfortunately, and it's called the tax department. But mate, good news on markets, and markets have been pretty resilient through all of this sort of turmoil, and they've good sectors have continued to perform very, very well. Probably picking up a theme that I wanted to just chat about, because I saw this in the Fin review, and I sort of mentioned it briefly last week. And this is a really interesting concept. So here's one, and for those of you who have heard me talk about this in different presentations, I'll be interested to know whether you but this was brought back to the table as a reform. And so what is it? It was the idea that you adjust the taxable income and the tax threshold. So, we've got a tax-free threshold up to $18,000, and then we pay X amount of tax at the next level, and then X amount of tax. And then it gets to the top marginal tax rate at about $200,000, right? And we're paying 45% plus Medicare levy too. So it's 47% is our highest marginal tax rate. Now, ladies and gents, if we were to index that based on the costs of goods, right, the cost of milk, the cost of petrol, right, then ultimately that would be a fair tax system, wouldn't it? Things are more expensive, and as a result, you end up with higher tax thresholds, so that you're paying lower tax for the same amount of money, but you're paying the same proportional tax based on how much it costs to buy you a loaf of bread. Does that make sense? So ultimately, the tax thresholds go up with inflation, the same as the petrol prices go up every year, same as food gets more expensive. As inflation goes up, then so too should the tax scale. That means that we're still paying the same amount of tax for what we can actually purchase, right?
Not the tax scale as percentage, but the gross dollar amount. So it goes from 19,000 to 20,000 to 21,000 to 25,000. Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
in the bad times of COVID, we almost had a 10% inflation year, right? So the top marginal tax bracket, if it was 10%, it would have gone from $200,000 to $220,000, which basically means that the money in our pocket still purchases the same amount of stuff. Now, what people don't know is it's a thing called bracket creep. People don't know about this thing called bracket creep. And what that is as inflation goes up, meaning things get more expensive, the proportion of your money that you have, your scarce resources, because you earn money, then you pay tax on it, then you've got something left, right? That has been buying you less and less and less and less and less every single year. So you have to earn more and more and more in order to still buy the same amount. Now, the more that you earn, the higher you go through your tax thresholds. So it doesn't matter whether you're a low income.
Reduces your net amount in your pocket as well. So, yeah.
Correct. So the government, by not indexing these things, every year gets more money purely based on inflation. So inflation's good for the government from that perspective. They will earn more money.
It's also good for the wealthy too, Andy. The wealthy or those owners of assets, right? So inflation does that job. So when you're out of the ownership, asset ownership, if you're in government, it's good for you. Or if you own assets, it's good for you as well. Yeah.
So the reason why I bring this up is I'll throw a question out there and see if anybody gets it right. So I've forgotten how many years ago. It was about 14, 15 years ago when they set the top marginal tax rate, and they only just changed it last year, right? And it moved from $180,000 to $190,000, right?
3 or 4 years later from when it should have. Yep.
Yeah. So if that was linked to inflation, what would be the number? What would be the top marginal? Would it be 200? Would it be 250? What do you reckon the top marginal? It's currently 100 and 190,000. Team, whack it into the chat and whatever social channel you're putting it onto. What do you think it should be if it was linked to inflation?
The question is, if it was linked to inflation, like it should be, what would be the top marginal tax rate in dollars?
Yes, where it would push through. So how much money do you need to earn before you start to pay top marginal?
Yeah. So in dollar amount. So top marginal is 47%. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yep.
Chris here so we got Jeff at 200. We got Julie
300 for Jeff. 300 for Jeff.
We got Julie for 259. And we've got Chris 260. Feels like I'm playing lotto. We've got Honor 500K. Well, team, and I did this math 2 years ago, so I haven't updated it since then. $270,000 is where the top marginal tax rate should be if it was linked to inflation ever since they stopped indexing it, right? Since the last change, not since they stopped indexing it. They stopped indexing it in the days of Gough Whitlam. But now, if they had just continued every year to continue to raise that based on the cost of living increasing, which would be a fair measure of how they actually do tax, then you would not be paying top marginal until you'd earned $270,000. And mate, fair tax.
There you
system.
go. Well, talking of a fair tax system, Andy. Now, listen, the government's got together and they're going, let's have a productivity roundtable, which is turned into not a productivity, but a how can we tax the average Aussie a bit more roundtable. And mate, what's the latest news on that one?
Well, yes. So I've actually got an excerpt here. I'll bring it up because there are some interesting things in the Fin Review on. That coming up? There's some interesting things on the Fin Review. There it is, which actually had the core findings from it. So I'll just read through them really quickly. The first one was the road user charge.
Here's the drill, folks. Buy yourself an electric vehicle. We'll give you incentives. Oh, now you've got one. We can tax you.
Yeah. So, Jace, that's exactly what happened. It was like, so here's the subsidy. And for those people I've told previously about the fringe benefits tax and the subsidies, have a look into that because that's changed, right? And it's changed in a big way.
Keep rolling. Yeah.
So they said, we'll incentivize you to go green because we're targeting zero emissions and we want all the green goodness and all of that sort of stuff. So we'll incentivize you to do it. Now, EVs went berserk, sold heaps of it. You think that's a good thing? They went, gotcha. But now they're going to charge a road user tax.
But Andy, hang on. Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes,
but
Mr.
don't
Whitten.
I pay tax? And isn't that what we should? Isn't that what they contributes to the roads? But haven't I already paid tax on? It's not a tax.
Oh, hang on.
It's an excise. It might be a levy, but it's not a tax.
Well, no, this is just a charge,
it's a charge.
Jason. This is a road user charge.
Well, it's not a tax then.
That's a
not
new
even
one.
A levy. Yeah,
it's actually a new one, right? They've been listening to us and they said, Jason and Andy are taking the piss out of us calling things tariffs.
But there's a road user charge, but then there's a toll on some of the roads. But we're charged. We're already charged taxes to.
well, this was what I was going to go to, Jace. Right, so I live down on the Mornington Peninsula. If I want to go to the city, I'm on Eastlink, which is mostly toll roads. Right, so I'm paying to use that toll road, and then I'll go on the Southeastern, which I'll pay to use a large part of that. Right, so that's most of my travel. What's been proposed is that they actually track the mileage of your car. Talk about Big Brother, right? Like that scary data privacy stuff, right? And then based on the amount of miles that you've driven in your car, that money then goes to funding the roads.
This is shocking. This is
so Jason, just like Medicare, that 2% that you pay, that Medicare levy. Not a tax, but the Medicare levy that you pay.
Oh, there's another one.
Funds
a levy,
healthcare.
A charge, an excise, a toll. Keep going.
A tariff.
Right. Go, Fenton. We got 9 more to go. We're never going to get here, Fenton.
So exactly how the Medicare levy is only used to fund the medical system in Australia. Really? Oh, hang on. No, that's not true, is it? No, it used to be. But now it just goes in the big bucket and gets distributed however they want. So road user charge, once they start charging it, will it actually end up in the roads? One would
doubt it.
Probably no. This one's a great one, right? And I can't wait to see how this goes. So abolishing more nuanced tariffs. So Chalmers said he would work with the Trade Minister, Don Farrell, to abolish hundreds of more nuisance tariffs. Chambers, who last year abolished 457 such levies, said it makes a modest but meaningful contribution to productivity. I can give them a few suggestions on what fucking nuisance tariffs
listen, Andy and Jason have got an opinion on this one. We might send something in.
So that one will be interesting. That will be really interesting to watch, because that'll actually tell you
if they're actually
where,
serious about doing stuff. Yeah, we'll see what's
yes.
going on. All right, National Construction.
This one's over in your neck of the woods. Yeah, reform in the National Construction Code.
Well, I mean, yeah,
so this is
it's an interesting one. In this one, I've talked about this a few times too. Increasing the environmental efficiency of a home, added over the last 4 years, approximately $26,000 per house, Andy. Now, nothing wrong with making sure your house is efficient, but that's lunacy. It adds time and complexity to the building and construction as well, as we go along. The National Construction Code, the layers, which is you've got your national code, you've got your state code, you've got your local building codes and councils. It's so onerous for builders to try and produce a piece of real estate for someone or a building. They have to clean this up. Some of these, I think, it's interesting. I was reading an article as well about the teals. The teals are all progressive. But there's an article, I should have grabbed it. I'll do it next time, folks. That a bunch of the teal politicians are involved in not in my backyard disputes about increasing density, but they want everyone else to do it. It's like, you bloody wankers. Anyway, keep going. This one.
So that's a good one.
It's a good one. And if they do it, Andy, then that'll help. That'll help a lot.
Then there's the accelerate the EPBC legislation, which is on the tip of everyone's tongue. I didn't even know what it was. So this has been asked to accelerate the overhaul of the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. I'm not going to comment too much on it, Jace, because I know very little about it.
I know very little about it. But what I do know with this one, certainly it gets in the way of the approval process of development. It's a disaster for property being developed. So, yep.
So make less red tape for property, and then make more red tape for property. Two back-to-back policies.
yeah. One side of the other side.
Now look at how little detail is on these. Dealing with approvals backlog. No details. Tell us once bill. Gallagher will introduce a regulatory reform bill this year to progress the tell us once principle. So companies and individuals are not asked to supply the same information more than once. You what, logical.
That'd be handy, wouldn't it? I thought they were saying it. Tell us once, Bill, as in, hey, Bill, like as in not the bill. Tell us once, Bill. I don't need to be told twice, Bill. Right? Yeah. But anyway, there you go. Regulation. Yeah.
Dropping excessive regulation. Well, let's just understand that that's never going to happen. AI in public services, national AI plan, and investor front door pilot.
Go up, Andy. There's one up there that sort of that there. So Chalmers going to ask the Council of Financial Regulators, like APRA, ASIC, and Treasury RBA to coordinate to tune things up. Now, this is, you and I have talked about this for a long time. One of the biggest disasters for Australians' financial capacity, folks, in 2016, 17, 18 was the APRA vilification of the financial planning industry. And mostly the banks were the perpetrators of absolute atrocities when it came to the financial disaster that was going on. And it literally halved the number of financial planners in Australia and doubled the complexity and cost to deliver financial planning. Absolute fucking disaster when it came to
napalmed it. Yeah, absolutely napalmed it. And look, it cleaned up some messy parts as well. But here's the thing,
I think it had a more negative effect, to be honest.
They've gone. So the banks were charging fees to dead
listen,
people.
I think Fletch got it right. Good on you, Fletch.
This is where we're going, Fletch. This is what let me get there in a moment. But ultimately, what they're doing is they're saying, well, no, the banks charge dead people. So that's immoral, irreprehensible. Like, that's disgusting. So we'll napalm the industry. And then we will charge taxes, death taxes, when they die instead. So don't charge them fees because we need to claim that in tax. But that's coming. That's not in the report because that's got nothing to do with productivity, but it does have to do with them collecting. But the part about this that I love, Jace, is it's like, let's ask, and it's like me saying to you, hey, Jason, which one of your great ideas is not a great idea?
We need 10 though, Andy. Like, we need 10.
So they go, okay, regulators, which of your laws that you introduced effectively that you're overseeing are terrible and just shouldn't be there? Like, let's see how that goes. So, mate, like Julie said it well. Where's the productivity in here? There's very little productivity. I'd say, making things more efficient from a building regulation, building code perspective.
Yeah,
great, right? Amazing. And if they do it, I doubt that they will, or increasing the amount of approvals, because let's face it, the only thing I'll absolutely make a statement, you cannot solve the housing crisis unless you start approving building. Like, it just can't, you can't do it. Doesn't matter how much tax, doesn't matter how much money you throw, ladies and gentlemen. If you do not approve for things to be built, then you will not solve the housing crisis unless you start making people get extra bedrooms in their house.
Well,
so,
I mean,
we need to fix that.
Well, I mean, this is part of the interesting thing for Andy. And so what happens, folks, if you didn't already know, many of you have chatted with me and Andy and Sam about where we're at, but when it comes to our understanding of the property market. But approvals are a leading measure, Andy, and a lagging measure is actually things that get constructed, right? What happens, folks, is that somebody's got to put the money into the deal, and this is an interesting one. Major banks.
Oh, that'll be Goldman Sachs.
Major banks in the world of residential property development lending are at decade lows, like as a percentage in their lending to development, right? Now, so this not when you look at these sorts of things, it might not be causation or correlation. It could be either or both. But maybe it's a correlation of lower and less approvals, and then less projects get started. But you can see, folks, the banks aren't lending to developers, and this is a problem. There's not enough developments to get off the ground. There's not enough being approved. Away you go. And this is really interesting, Andy. This is one thing that gives me historical heebie-jeebies when it comes to this. What happens is the lenders, this is where some of the challenges come, right? The lenders requiring a certain amount of pre-sales to get deals off the ground, right? So if you go back to 2022, the ratio of we need 60 to 100%, right? We need 35 to 60%. We need 0 to 35. Don't worry about pre-sales. We'll give you the money. All right.
Yeah. Show me the money.
But which one is decreased and which one is increased? This one here, right? And so what happened in the land of the GFC is lending increased, or the lack of debt coverage for developments when it came to pre-sales for funding. It's a little bit technical, but I foresee, Andy, some higher risk lending going to occur because these projects are requiring less funding to get off the ground, and I think we're going to have some residual stock issues into the future. There's going to be some. I'm making a call right now because I've done this for 25 years. When you see this dysfunction, there'll be a certain style of property stock in the marketplace, and developers won't be able to move their properties because, number one, it'll be developed and the public can't actually buy it. That's actually happening right now in many places because the completed stock is unattainable for the average investor or the average owner-occupier to buy. And so the margin that developer needs is going to be squished. What's an upside of that, folks? Tell me what an upside of that is. Jeff,
Jeff's all over
it.
it.
You took the words right out of my mouth there. You know me too well, Jeff. It's an opportunity for investors, folks. I'm telling you, it's actually already happening right now, Andy, in Melbourne, because Melbourne is actually the only city that's producing an okay amount of property, but it's producing an amount of property that's actually not overpriced for the market. It's actually overpriced for what people can buy, right? And the number of buyers, the number of purchasers are disappearing. Have disappeared because of the restrictions in lending. So right now,
and also the fear,
a bit of fear.
Right?
So it does. It creates an opportunity.
It
creates opportunity. Yeah.
Because in my world, and what I've noticed since we've started doing these podcasts together, and since we've been working together, is I've noticed that the property market seems to price faster and faster and faster based on technology and information, and it starts to resemble a lot more like the share market. The information, share markets effectively move in anticipation of news of the future.
Yeah.
Now, it seems to be that property sentiment, property prices, property markets are now starting to almost mirror that type of behavior a little bit. And so what in my world, when there's fear and when there's propaganda, when there's all this negative stuff that the government are talking about in the newspapers, then people get scared and people don't invest.
Exactly right. Yep.
And then, but then I look at the property market and I go, that type of policy, that type of fear could be catastrophic for the affordability of property, because if people don't invest,
it already is right now. What's happening in this in the world for 20, 30 years, as long as I've been paying attention to property investing or property, folks, an apartment was a really budget affordable choice. It was always less expensive than a house, Andy, right? Right now, folks, a house with land, 4-bedroom house is cheaper than a 2-bedroom apartment in any major city of Australia because of the lunacy. And don't get me started on the unions and the hijacking of, local, like state governments adding between 20 and 40% cost to, medium to high density dwellings, right? So at the end of the day, you can't afford to sprawl endlessly into the countryside, and you don't want that anyway, and most people prefer a bit of vertical living when it comes to, a convenience and lifestyle as well. So,
it's a necessity, but for infrastructure. Otherwise, if you don't have density, it's hard to have good infrastructure.
Mate, it's crazy. And I've got a little thing here. Check out this, right? So, what's going on right now is apartments, high density apartment living is now unaffordable as a budget purchase, right? Its average price for a good quality, well located 2-bedroom apartment is $850,000 to $900,000. That now, for some properties, absolutely no brainer. I'd buy one every day of the week. I just bought one up in Brisbane. You guys know the drill. An amazing apartment. Those who know, right? But the average property in a substandard location with a substandard layout with a substandard construction for $900,000, when you can go up the road 10 minutes away and buy a 4-bedroom house, Andy, for $900,000, right?
Wild.
So, and the challenge is this, though, where you can supply the market, no one can fucking buy it. The only way you can supply what needs to be supplied is in medium to high density dwellings. You can't do it with housing. You can't do it with land and houses. You can't do it. Doesn't happen. For 40 years, Australia's produced almost the same amount of land lots and houses for fucking 40 years. Irrelevant of the population. It's actually, as a percentage of the population, getting worse. So
the amount of people producing those approvals quadrupled.
Yep.
10
times the amount of about this yonks ago when we first started investing. You could buy a $65,000 two-bedroom apartment near the beach. Back in the day. Anyone's like, hey, put it in the chat, folks. Back in my day, put it in the chat. Back in my day, a bimda. Back in my day.
So what is it? The story. So back in my day,
I could buy or I bought her like in there. Here's one, Andy. I helped a client buy a house in Moree for $19,000, and it was renting for $80 a week. It was unbelievable. Sammy and I did that all the time back in the day. Back in my day, anyway. Back in 2000, that was it. But there you go. So, Andy, good, interesting stuff in that mechanism when it comes to, that supply chain. Those things that are got a knock-on effect, huh? As we go, Jules, there we go. Jules's first house, 152,000, now over $1 million. Crazy. Back in my day, poor people lived in an apartment. You're dead right. It was like poor people or single people. Like, there you go. 1,200 square meters in Melbourne for $120K. Jeez. Yeah. Yep. There you go. Lolita. Back at 24,000. Wow, that's amazing. Actually, where I grew up, my dad bought our 2 acres of land for $500, and we bought. This is the funny thing. Does everyone know Bob Catter? Anyone know Bob Catter? He's a bit of a crazy polly, but we bought our kit home from Bob Catter for $1,000, and my dad built it on our land.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
I think you win, Jace. I think you won.
No, like Carolyn Bounds, like 3-bedder for 72. Like, and it's it's a crazy. Back in my day, Chris Scarborough. Oh, Chris, did you sell it? Have you still got it, Chris? Gee, I tell you, 500 meters from the beach. There you go. Purchased our first house, Carmel, in 34. Leichhardt. Oh, do you still have it? Leichhardt would be crazy. Anyway, there you go. Andy.
You have to shift the decimal point a few times on that one, I reckon.
There you go. Anyway, what's going on for you when it comes to good old Chalmers? Anyway, he's easy to make fun of, I think.
He totally is. So just one thing that I wanted to touch on from the productivity report that had very little to do with productivity in it. So it brought up the super tax again. So they're obviously fairly and squarely lining up superannuation.
Yeah,
there's a big hit, ladies and gentlemen. We'll bring more of the detail to you, but they're coming for, if you're a retiree and you've done well to fund yourself, they're coming for you and they're looking at you. They haven't told you how, but I've got a few suggestions as to what I would imagine I would do if I was a grubby little money hungry thief that I'd be doing. And so I think that I'll try and whack franking credits back on the agenda. They'll start to look at more aggressive superannuation taxes. And I coined this when they first started talking about taxing unrealized capital gains. It's now been put onto the agenda. I reckon it was placed on the agenda, just sold for 2.49 million. Wow. 27,000 to 2.49.
Tax free PPR. Yep. He's no charmer. Well, I tell you what, though, Andy. As you get into this, folks, just listen up. Like what we know, Andy and I know this, we've been paying attention for 25 years. We've got mentors and coaches who coach us in this space that we can call on. They've been in this game for 40 to 50 years. There's always a way to navigate through the tiptoe through the tulips. The government always leaves it open for those who look into the future, because they do telegraph their moves.
Yes.
And you and I, Andy, this is our passion. We love getting ahead of the curve. We want to let you guys know what's going on, and so you can strategize to take action and make some changes.
And firstly, it really comes with understanding what's there, because in the world of business and finance, I might just delete this one. In the world of business and finance, and when I was talking about this actually with Taki the other day, is we've got things that, we've got things that we know and we talk about. Right. And when it comes to finance and politics, they're very, very surface level types of things. We know and we talk about them.
Yep.
Then, whoa. Then, use that version. So, minor adjustment. So we've got things that we know and we talk about. And then we've got things we know and we don't about them. And then there's things that we don't know
and we have no ability to talk about them. Right? We've got no idea. Yep.
And the idea of what we're trying to do here is make sure that you know about the things that you don't know about. And then once you know them, you're not talking about them and you take them up to the top. Because when you have a look at the triangle, it's upside down, mate, and that thing will topple over in either direction if you give it enough weight. So the idea is that we want to start to increase the things that we know at a general level so that we can start to talk about them and then figure out our ways of navigating them. But one of the things I wanted to highlight, because this is interesting how this is going to play out. They've talked and they've floated the idea of putting a 5% cash flow tax on all businesses under $1 billion. And I think that every business under $1 billion should be seriously starting to wonder what this is going to look like. And what is a cash flow tax?
Here's their conversation. It's like, all right, Chalmers is going, yeah, I think it's imperfect. Yeah, no shit, Dick Tracy. And I love this one. We want a fair go. What the fuck is a fair go? It's affordable, responsible. Like, this is like coming up with like wonderful pops. Are simpler, more sustainable. Simple, sustainable, affordable, responsible, fair go. Like, come on. This is fucking. Well, people fall for this shit or not? Like this.
It's like it's the unfair system that they brought in. So just be aware, because this is all smokes and mirrors, right? So 5%. That this is a proposed cash flow tax on all businesses, meaning cash flows of businesses will be taxed on money that comes in regardless of profit. Regardless of profit.
This is the shim shaky, folks. Andy, this is what Andy's sort of doing a quick conversation on. Andy, I'll just set this up just quickly. Let's just do this just quickly. All right. Chalmers says, all right, I think our tax system is imperfect. Yeah, no shit, Dick Tracy, right? And he's going, oh, it's intergenerational. Here's what these guys are doing, which I think is filthy. They are basically buying the young vote. Now, they did the uni forgiveness. Guess who fucking paid for that, folks? Right? Not Chalmers, not Labor, you and me, the taxpayer, right? Okay. Now what they're leaning into is like, it's intergenerational. It's an issue for the young people. The young people need to pay attention, right? This is the problem. And so now what they're going is like, oh, but you know what we'll do is we'll drop the company rate for company business owners. Oh, we'll drop the company rate to 20%. But what we might do though is we'll put a 5% tax on cash flow. All right, what the fuck does that mean, Andy Fenton? That was just a throwaway line. Tell me more.
Well, that means potentially you can start to tax things at profit. right, that's coming in. So there's very little detail, right, at the moment. But here's the basic math, right? If you're earning about $1.5 million as revenue for a business, right? Not a massively successful business by any stretch of the imagination. But let's say you're running it really, really well and you're able to make a 30% profit on that or a third profit on that. That effectively means that you've got 500K worth of profit that actually sits in there. So then you go, okay, well, so then there's expenses and there's other things like that that have got to be taken into consideration. So, but we're going to pay this X 5% over here. We're going to pay this 5%. So what's it likely going to be on? Well, it's likely going to be on the net cash flow, right? So it's likely going to be on that number, which is effectively your EBIT or your profit number for those of you who know about business. Right. This is where it becomes interesting because you talked about a tax on a tax on a tax before. Well, this isn't a tax on a tax on a tax, right? It really is. So then how would this work? What would your average business going to pay if they had a business like that? And I'm just going to assumptions, but they're pretty close to accurate. All right. So we'll go, okay, GST is going to be 50K. That's how much you're going to be paying. Ballpark. Then we go, well, on that profit, on this profit here, you're going to pay on the 500, pay $100,000 worth of normal company tax. All right, so that's CT, company tax. And then you're paying, let's just say that you've got 4 team members, 100K each, ballpark it's going to be right. So you're paying their tax as well. So you're paying PAYG of about 91,000. 91K. PAYG. Super, it's a tax on small business, it is. So that's roughly going to be.
You might need to zoom out, Andy, make it a bit bigger or make it zoom in or something. Yep.
48,000. So let's just sum all of that up. What's the total tax amount based on this sort of system that you're going to be paying based on variables? We go $314,000 worth of taxes that business is going to pay. Now, do you know what that equates to as a number? Well, on revenue, that's 21% tax. On profit, it equals 62%. 62% on your profit. But here's where it gets interesting. And here's where we won't know the devil of the detail until it comes across. You go, well, how is, and you asked me this question before, Jace, how is a cash flow tax of 5%, how is that different to 15%? How is that different? Well, the beauty about this is that this is on everything. GST is on goods and services, and you get credits, and the last person pays for it, right? And everyone else gets in and out credits along the way, right? And you eat the sandwich, you buy the sandwich, you eat the sandwich, that's when the GST actually gets paid. This one, it's right across. It doesn't fall with the last person. This is the net cash flow for everybody will get taxed. And the potential for it as well, Jace, is you go, well, maybe you're not profitable as a company. All right. Now, it's possible, and this sounds a little bit esoteric for those of you who don't know about business, but a business can have a cash flow, so they've got more income receipts, so they've earned more money than they've paid out, but then there's all of these expenses that they have that don't count, right? And they're taxes, which effectively means that you can have a net cash flow positive position, but have $0 in the bank to pay anything. And they will whack a 5% tax on that. And that, my friends, will put more and more businesses out of business because small business are struggling just to make ends meet. And so this idea of taxing small businesses more heavily or creating more taxes, not to mention the complications over managing it, Jace. Imagine, I mean, accountants are struggling as it is to keep up with the demand that the tax office place on them to be police officers for them. Imagine just another thing that they have to do in order to be able to calculate how much you're meant to be paying the tax man. Just the administration burden alone of this could be, well, A, it's counterproductive, but ultimately it's going to bleed small businesses and any type of stuff. Like, yes, pull the tax down to 20%. The only way, Jace, the only way, and I think I said this last week, they have never, ever in anywhere, ever on the face of the planet, ever taxed themselves out of an economic crisis. It hasn't happened.
It won't help. It won't help. Taxing doesn't help. Like, part of the conversation, I think we'll dive into this one next week. Speaking of taxes, and also like thinking about, like, in my world, negative gearing and capital gains tax. Whenever those things are either eliminated or increased, that actually stops people selling it. Like, there might be a short-term sale because, like, some people couldn't afford it and they probably shouldn't have owned it anyway. But then 1 or 2 years down the track, Andy, fucking disaster. No one's going to sell because rich people work out how to structure their affairs in another way, folks. There you go.
Leverage it up, and then we'll use the leverage.
Well, this is the interesting thing, and I'll save this one for next time, folks, when we get together. But which are the companies in Australia that paid the most and the least amount of tax in Australia? Which are the companies that paid the most and the least amount of tax in Australia? I'll save that one for next time, because you might be surprised who paid what, and the government avoids who voted for these monkeys. You're dead right, Lolita. You're dead right. Who voted for him? I'm always I'm mind blown on this sort of stuff. Like, I'm like, how did the Victorians vote this bloke back in? Good old Dan. But anyway, there you go. But folks,
keep the dream alive, mate. That it's in some way, shape, or form you can take a toke on the tax dragon and somehow build us back to prosperity. I call bullshit. It's not going to work. But the beauty about it is, Jace, is the opportunity that it creates. And so the questions that people should be asking right now is based on what we've talked about tonight. Like, what impact's that going to have? What's the falling interest rates going to have? What's the extended property crisis going to have? What do I need to be looking at in order to figure out what the leading indicators are? These are the things that we look at today that tell us what's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah. And where there is not great productivity measures in place, now, what does that actually mean for the greater economy? Like, what is going to happen as a result of this? And if they don't increase housing supply, what's the ramifications of that? And if they keep on asking BlackRock to build houses out in Australia, and they don't fix the union movement, and what I was about to say with you, Jason, and relating back to your story of union and large high rises, I'll never forget this. For those of you who are Victorians, you might remember that the Great Southern Stand of the MCG used to be a little bit ratty in comparison to the new members, and they embarked on this massive project that at that point in time was a huge government and a huge local spend to do the Great Southern Stand of the MCG. And I remember my dad saying, "Oh, this is going to be a nightmare. We're not going to be going to the football or the cricket like it has been for many years." And I'm like, what are you talking about, Dad? Like, because when you're young, you're always left, right? You always believe in this utopian universe. And I said, "No, it'd be great for the economy." All this, and he's going, "Mate, no. Mark my words, as soon as the contract is signed and they get on the job, they will shut that thing down and they will strike until they get multiple pay rises." And it held up the whole thing for I think 6 months longer, or maybe even a year longer. I can't remember. It was a while back. But that has a cost to the economy, but there's also benefits that were downstream from that as well. And not the intended benefits, but benefits nonetheless. So there's opportunity within everything that we're looking at. It's just what lens you're going to look at it through.
Well, I mean, pre-warned is pre-planned, and having 1, 2, 3 strategies into the future is smart for everyone, Andy. Like, this is nothing new, folks, when it comes to the political world or those in control changing the rules to suit their own agenda. The politicians want to get voted back in. If they, what can they do? That's at the end of the day, they want to keep control. That now you can rise above this and go, well, that's the way it is, and what do I do to create a strategy to get what I want? At the end of the day, Andy and I don't have any problems with paying the right amount of tax in the right way to get the right outcome. We believe our society should be funded in a way that's sustainable. I got no problems with that. I got no problems with that. I'd be happy to pay 15% GST on consumption. I think they should increase that, and they should reduce personal taxes. I think there's a lot of examples around the world that are way better than ours. At the end of the day, though, folks, your forewarned is foreplanned. And at the end of the day, if you want to get ahead of that, pop along to one of the things that we do. Andy's running a masterclass. Is it tomorrow or it's next week, actually?
No, it's tomorrow morning, actually, this one. We're doing that. Stay tuned, caller. I'll have a look at my diary. I think we're at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
9 a.m. Yep, there you go. Yep. Yeah, and if you want to have a little look at what we can do about this in the world of being proactive, folks, jump on Andy's masterclass tomorrow. He's going to spend about an hour and a half with business owners and sophisticated investors, and talk about what we can do. Definitely, Jeff. Absolutely. Time to thaw out Uncle Kerry. Yep, you're dead right. But yeah, listen, folks. At the end of the day, as an individual, Andy and I have a belief that if we invest wisely with some of our resources we create over the years, if you're a career person with a PAYG income, or you're a business owner with a little bit more risk and reward when it comes to the way you create some of your world. Either way, if you invest in smartly, you have some strategies that you can keep more of what you make. That's the outcome as well. So there you go.
Never more important it's never been more important to have a strategy. That's because ultimately you can see it, team, that the way that they're managing things is not efficient. We can't escape it, but we can play within the rules that are set, and that's the only way that we can tilt the game to our advantage. So it's never been more important to become educated about this, understand the reality behind it, and don't get scared by what's on television, because ultimately they're just looking for your attention. They're not looking for the truth.
Does anyone watch television anymore, Andy? I don't know. Like I don't.
Wait, actually, I went into the house the other day, Jason, and everyone was sitting down. There was just news on the background. I was mortified. I've said, "Can we turn this garbage off?" Like I've walked into the house in a reasonably good mood, and then I'm like, death, horrible thing here, horrible this, horrible that, and it was raining as well, so the weather wasn't even fun. I'm like, no, I'm not going to allow myself to be bombarded by such negativity in order to just capture my attention to sell some ads. No chance.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so negative. There's actually a book, and maybe Shay can grab it for me, because it's brilliant. It's a brilliant book called I'm pretty sure it's called it's The Power of Positivity or something like that. When it comes to how toxic they connected up a bunch of people to some scanners and took heart rate monitors and blood glucose and all that sort of stuff when it came to how they interacted in information and knowledge throughout the day.
Yes.
Someone started their day watching the news, their cortisol levels spiked. I think it's called The Secret to Happiness or something like that. But it's brilliant. And it basically shows, Andy, like the moment you consume this negative information, your cortisol spikes, and you become stupid. And it's it's not stupid in a derogative way. It's actually a stupid in a chemical way. Your ability to process information and handle stress and pressure drops through the floor when your cortisol level spikes, folks. Television, the media, they are not your friends. Nobody in the media gives a fuck about you, and I'm using that word explicitly because they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about your well-being or outcome or whatever it might be. All they care about is clicks and your eyeballs, and that's how they can monetize their world. So don't be their monetization. The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Peale. No, it's the other one, Shay. the unicorn one when the bloke breaks his sister's arm. Anyway, I've probably had one too many wines.
Sounds like a very upbeat. Hey, so maybe what we'll try and do is that for at least the first half hour, because probably some of you are going, that's a bit hypocritical. You guys have been bashing people for a good 30 minutes. Maybe we'll try and bring as much of the positive stuff, because we're probably trying to highlight the positive by talking about the negative, but maybe we'll just come out and say it and make a few calls next week. So tune in. So. We'll bring the book and tune in. We'll make sure that we look at the positive of what's the wind that's behind us.
There it is. Yeah, the happiness advantage. Sean Accor. Yeah, there you go. I knew Shay would understand my lunacy ramblings. There you go. Brilliant book. But anyway, Fenton, great to hang out with you today, mate, and decant the week. Folks, appreciate you joining us. Listen, if you keep showing up, we'll keep showing up and hopefully communicate some value, hopefully help on a weekly basis navigate this crazy thing we're all up to, which is trying to keep a little bit more of what we deserve to keep, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Andy's concerned, when it comes to our wealth, and creating a future that we're all happy to have when it comes to taking care of yourself and your family and your business and yourself when it comes to your wealth. So great to be here. Good to hang out, Fenton. I think that's it, isn't it? We're done.
I think it's a good night from me, Chase.
And it's a good night from him, folks. Take care. Team. Good night. You do it. You click it.
All right, I'm keeping my hands off. It's up to you.
Anyway, he's clicking, I'm clicking. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a thing, folks.
We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Debrief the week with Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Every Friday at 5 p.m. Victoria and New South Wales time. We know that Queensland, South Australia, WA have different time zones, as does Darwin, but we're sure that you can do the calculations depending on whether it's daylight savings or not.
You can also catch up on all the episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you check out the Positive Mentor podcast from our 6-star team at positivementor.com.au.